Hey, this is Mariela from the Functional Company. All right, today I want to talk about the one thing that most business people realize about health only when it's too late. And the one thing that usually goes undetected for many, many years is the fact that one of the biggest things that affects a person's health, especially in business, but this applies to really anybody. But in business, we're just used to a certain level of stress and we think it's normal, but it's not normal. And the one thing that's missed is toxic people. There are toxic clients, toxic employees, toxic bosses, toxic relationships at work that seem to create a sort of continual stress. Things seem to always be on fire. And I'm just going to share it from my own personal experience. I noticed that when I was working in a certain company, that there were just always problems. It was just like, first we have this situation, always that situation. And I just thought that's just the way life is. It's just a continuous level of stress. And what happens, it directly affects your health because you're in such a high level of stress that you don't sleep very well. Then you don't make the best choices for food because all you want is just a moment of pleasure by eating some kind of, food that's not really good for you. That makes you tired. You don't have enough time to do other things because you're constantly handling fires at work. And if you take a step back, you actually look at what's going on. You look at your list of clients or customers. You can look at all the people that are around you, your coworkers, etc., your bosses, your employees. Just take a look. And even if I'm just mentioning this and somebody popped into your mind, like, oh my gosh, it's that person. It could be that person. You don't have to question yourself. You just kind of really respect what you think is true for you. So here's the thing though, that creates so much stress for a business person, more than is the usual, because there's nothing wrong with having very productive days. There's nothing wrong with having long hours and with having high goals and very strong purpose in life. The thing that actually creates a negative stress, because that kind of stress is just a positive stress that's more towards building and creating, and there's no problem with that. But the negative stress that creates a breakdown for the body, for the health, and for our lives are toxic people in our environment that oftentimes are undetected. And, I just want to mention that because I think sometimes it just goes overlooked or we justify it. But if you take a step back and start to analyze who in your life is heavily critical, who's constantly saying you can't do stuff, who do you seems to be your friend, but it really isn't, you kind of have to just evaluate for yourself who you kind of have to figure out that you need to keep a good distance from, or that you have to kind of change your environment. For some people, they have to change jobs. For some people, they just have to keep it cool with that person and just keep them at a distance. It just kind of depends on what your scenario is. But the number one thing is just spotting it. But spotting it will allow you to actually be more not the effect of that particular person or situation. And you can actually handle more things at work than you even realize. And this is one of the things that we notice is that we were actually able to detect a couple of people in one of the companies that we have that was creating the overwhelming majority of fires or emergencies that really didn't need to be occurring. And once we handled that, we removed those people from our company. The rest of the group was left to produce and was living in more harmony. And we were just basically simply less stressed overall. We were left to produce and create and keep our attention on the targets instead of the fires that were also breaking down our bodies. So that's the number one thing I would mention. If you're a business person, you love to work, you look at your environment, and here's one of the things that you want to look for is if you're constantly getting sick, you might really want to take a look at this, right? If you're constantly getting sick or you're constantly in this crazy stress and you can't sleep, this kind of stuff, you really want to look in your environment. And sometimes it could even be a family member, but I'm just talking about something very frequently. It could be at work or it could be a customer or a client. I remember in another place I used to work previously, one of the things I would do is there were some days where if I looked at my calendar and I saw somebody there, I was like, oh my gosh. It was just like immediately created this stress for me, right? And I realized, oh my gosh, I don't have to do that, right? I can refer that person and work with the people that I want to work with, the people that we're working in harmony with. So that's what we kind of have to look at to figure out how to optimize our own health so that we can continue to achieve our goals, right? All right, that's all I want to mention this time around. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the flip side. Hey, if you're liking the information on this channel, don't forget to subscribe, click the button, and share this with your friends and family. We've got lots more information coming. Thanks so much for being here.